We've made greenhouses and chicken coops using Gothic arches. We've made barns and churches using Gothic arches. So why not houses? There are actually many different shapes of Gothic arches. They can be short and wide or tall and skinny. Today we are going to focus on the equilateral Gothic arch. If you put a triangle inside it, all of the sides would be equal. Let's take a line that is 10 feet long. Let's say our Gothic arch is going to be 10 feet wide. We can draw a circle from one end to the other, and from the other end to the beginning. Then just erase the parts we don't want. The width is 10 feet wide, and point to point is 10 feet. This arch is 10 feet wide, but the height is 7 feet 7 and 7/8 inches. We can make the arch shorter by putting our starting point 2 feet in from the end of the line. Then we can draw our circles from those points. Now the width is still 10 feet, but the height is 7 feet 5 inches. If we want to make it taller, we can put our starting points outside our initial line. Then draw our circles using those starting points. Then our width will be 10 feet and our height will be 9 feet 8.5 inches. The taller the building is, the more usable floor space we'll have next to the walls. Compared to an A-frame, there's a lot more floor space where we're not going to hit our heads. Now we need to make a jig so that all of our framing members are the same. You can make an angled line that is 30 degrees and the width that you want it to be. Here it's going to be 12 feet. I'm making it 30 degrees so that it will fit on 2 sheets of plywood. But if you don't have plywood, you can just use some rebar in the ground. Then you can put a Sharpie on a string and draw out your 12-foot circles. This will tell you exactly where your line will be for your first arc. Then you can nail your blocks to the plywood. This first board that you put down is going to be the outside board. Then you're going to put 4x4 blocks, and I put them every 3 feet. And they go on the right side of the first board. And then the second board goes on the right side of those blocks. Then the third board goes on the left side of that whole structure. Now I'm just going to make this whole thing a group so I can move it all as one piece. Now I'm going to move this one piece over so that I can work on combining two of the arches and putting a gusset in between them. First thing I'm going to do is rotate it back 30 degrees. Now I'm just going to copy and paste in place and flip it over. Then I will rotate that other piece 60 degrees. Then I can line up the peaks. I'm going to separate them 1.5 inches so I can put a 2x8 ridge board in between. I'm only using a single ridge board and not a ridge beam because the load is not on the ridge beam, it's on the rafters. and the rafters carry the load down to the floor. I'm just going to make this a foot long for now until I get the gussets cut out. On the front, I'm going to use a 1/2 inch piece of plywood that is 1 foot square. And I'm going to cut it out to the shape of the arch. Now I'm just going to copy that to the other side of the arch and then cut out a notch where the ridge board is going to be. Now you can see what the backside gusset looks like. So I'm going to take the two rafters and the gussets and make them a group so that I can move them and copy them all together. And now I'm going to stand them upright and copy them every 2 feet on center. But before I do that, I need to put the cutout gussets on both sides of the interior rafter. Now I can copy them down the length of my building. And add my 2x8 ridge board. You don't want to use more than one piece of wood for the framing on your arches because that will create a weak point. There is some complicated math to figure out what your arc length should be or will be, and not to go over the 16 or 20 feet boards that you can acquire. But the easiest way to do that is to go online and look at a Gothic arch calculator. In this case, I made the width 15 feet and the arc length turns out to be 15 feet 8.5 inches. Now we just need to install some 2x4s laterally to hold everything together. And these will go on top of the blocks. Then you can do the same thing on the other side and finish off the exterior with whatever materials you like, and finish off the interior with insulation and your materials of choice. And the end walls are going to be just like conventional framing. And that's it.